crunchy. So very, very crunchy. Well, after swearing up and down that CD Projekt Red wouldn't implement crunch into their development cycle, they seem to have come out and blatantly disregarded their previous commitments and statements on the matter, and just decided to go along and screw everyone over anyways. According to one Verge article, in one particular interview in 2019, Jason Schreier spoke with CD Projekt Red co-founder Marcin Winski, where Schreier asked the question, if I'm a designer at CD Projekt Red and I say, you know what, I have kids, I have a family, I'm going to go to work at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, and that's it, even until the very end. Am I going to be okay with that? Winski responded, yes. Surprised, I guess, Jason asked again for dedication on the statement, asking, no matter what? In which case, Winski again responded, yes. So, in response, Jason Schreier asked, so you can commit to that? In which Winski again responded, we already have, seeming to have made a long-standing commitment to no crunch. Alright, so that's it. No crunch over here at CD Projekt Red. Let's pack up the horses, video's over, and I'm getting out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to say this here and now. If you thought that there was going to be zero crunch at all on this game, either before or after that affirmation from Winski, one can only assume that you really don't follow the games industry all that much. Apparently, in an investor call in January 2020, CEO of CD Projekt Red, Adam Kaczynski, was asked about extra work needing to have been done on Cyberpunk 2077, and he responded that they were trying to limit crunch as much as possible. However, according to an email obtained by Bloomberg, Anna Badowski, studio head of CD Projekt Red, offered no real reason to mandate the now mandatory 6-day work weeks, including nights and weekends, other than to stamp out the last few bugs that remained in the game. With the first trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 being released on YouTube in January 2013, having definitely been in development before that, we can assume development began in the latest 2012. And with the game being slated for release this coming November 2020, assuming it doesn't get yet another delay, this game would have been in development for nearly 9 years. My real question is, why now all of a sudden would CD Projekt Red suddenly need to implement crunch? Almost a decade in, with gameplay just being shown in 2018, why all of a sudden rush? Why not keep your employees happy and healthy and working under more favorable conditions? This issue of crunch is not just found at CD Projekt Red, but at most, if not all, developers outside of indie studios. And even then, it's sometimes found in independent developers. And CD Projekt Red is just one of the most recent offenders in the lot of them. First and foremost, I'm going to level some of the blame at the shareholders. The ones looking to make a profit on that sweet, sweet shares of capitalistic pie. You got to keep your investors happy to keep yourself employed. So I can't really exactly blame studio heads and managers because it keeps them paid in most cases as well, and sometimes ridiculously well. I'm looking at you, Bobby Kotick. But I think the real issue lies with the management of the development companies. In most cases, bad management causes the bulk of crunch-related issues. Games in development are announced way too early, point blank. Going back to the shareholder issue as well, those announcements are made at specific times to drive up hype and fill gaps in the release year, with a few notable developers only releasing games once every few years, such as Rockstar and the aforementioned CD Projekt Red, so it helps the share prices out from year to year. However, announcements have begun to get a bit ridiculous, as games not even in development but pre-production are being announced before any sort of work has even begun on them. We get trailers for things like the upcoming Fable release, Starfield, and the God of War sequel that may be PS4, PS5, whatever Sony decides at this point, that don't even show anything other than a proof of concept, just a hype trailer, something to get people talking about it. Some, like God of War, have a release window, but therein lies another issue falling under the umbrella of management. When companies throw out a release window, it's meant to get us hyped for what's to come, to let us know what's on the way and roughly when we're going to get it. But frankly, I'm hard-pressed to remember a game that stuck to its first announcement release date, at least in recent memory. Cyberpunk 2077. Initial release date, April 16th, 2020. Delayed to September 17th, 2020. Delayed to November 19th, 2020. Who knows if it's going to get pushed back again? Watch Dogs Legion. Initial release date, March 6th, 2020. Delayed to 2020-2021 fiscal year. Who knew at that point? New release date, October 29th, 2020. Final Fantasy 15. In development for 10 years. Initial release date, September 30th, 2016. That was announced with a huge event revealing the release date, all this extra Final Fantasy stuff to make up for it.
Tim, he wants you to do it. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I will, because I will.
No.
I'm doing this for all of you. 10 years! Here it is!
Woo!
It's delayed again.
No! What?
No.
What? Oh, you've got a button.
It's air button.
Air button.
Air button. Okay.
Do you, ladies and gentlemen, want him to hit the air button
Yeah,
and
button.
reveal the release date of Final Fantasy 15?
Okay.
Yeah,
Go for it.
hit it.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Push. Okay.
Few days later, delayed November 29th, 2016. These issues aren't caused by people who aren't working hard enough or getting the job done. At most jobs I've held, if you aren't working up to par, you get replaced. And I highly doubt these sort of delays can be caused by one singular programmer. Management fails to properly assess development times and organize projects, sets themselves up for failure by setting arbitrary deadlines for the finished product before having even completed the most basic of building blocks, setting shareholders up, demanding a certain time frame, and then being stuck to that time frame. Because if you go against that time frame, you go against the shareholders, and then the shareholders get mad. These issues leave management at development studios with two basic options. Either work people to the point that they absolutely burn out and quit, something that is so common in the industry that can be referred to as a stress casualty, or just delay the game, you know? Toss out the old release date, pick a new one a few months away, and pray that you won't have to do it again, and upset your shareholders again, and upset the fans again. Maybe if you just didn't announce the thing so early and actually get maybe 75 to 80% of the way done with the project before you said something, maybe, just maybe, the problem would fix itself! Programmers are also left with little recourse in the situation, as there's no broad unionization within the game development industry, basically leaving devs with the only choices of getting a new job or shut your mouth, keep your head down, and keep on working, which seems to be commonplace amongst development studios, as we only ever find out about these sorts of things with the precondition of anonymity on the part of the person blowing the whistle, speaking to someone, raising alarms about this issue. It is worth noting that some of this crunch isn't always mandatory, but done out of fear for one's job. Studios will often encourage extended hours to push development along, but not directly mandated, keeping track of those who end their workday on time and those who stay later, chastising those who don't choose to work those extended hours on a regular basis, and publicly ask those who do put in that extra time to put in even more time to, quote, pick up the slack, making crunch as mandatory as grabbing a parachute before jumping out of a plane, in my opinion. While it can be argued that all jobs do have some level of stressful busy periods, myself working in the restaurant industry knowing that truth all too well, the difference lies in how that extra work and that busy period comes about. At my job, I know without fail, I'm going to be busy for lunch, I'm going to be busy for dinner, I'm going to be busy on the weekends, I'm going to be busy on holidays. It's just the nature of the work. People come to eat more so during those period of times than others. Not to say that people don't eat during those other times as well. However, my manager doesn't get to dictate when people will show up at what times and what they're going to eat whenever they show up. And we have a set time to open and a set time to close. Nobody can come in 3 hours after close and demand food and we not give it to them and somebody gets in trouble for it, because those are the rules that are established. However, in game development, there are no clear-cut times when things, quote, normally get done. No deadlines other than those being set by project managers. And those managers set the dates, but they aren't always the ones working on the front lines to do the work that needs to be done on those things to get jobs done in the time frame that they have set. They have the power to provide their teams with the time and tools needed to complete the job that they have to do and do it in a sane manner. People have lives and families and birthdays and anniversaries to go to, and some unfortunately miss out on those things due to crunch. There are some that quit when they thought they had a dream job because poor management pushed them to the brink. And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to their families. Can we really sustain this cycle forever? I mean, isn't there a better way? How many people were physically and mentally burned out, or had a breakdown making something intended to bring so much joy to people? Because I know my happiness isn't worth that of others. No one's is. And regardless, if it's unacceptable or if it's just part of the trade, the fact still remains that the development cycle of games brings crunch nearly every single time, and the focus becomes only the dollar signs and not the cost associated with attaining them. Again, I mean, crunch is a thing, whether you believe in the fact that it is a problem or not. I myself am of the mindset that it is an issue, or at least an issue that can be lessened. It doesn't necessarily have to be as big of a problem as it is. There, again, are plenty of different ways that you can limit crunch by just having a time frame, sticking to it. Maybe arbitrary deadlines are not such a good thing. I mean, maybe announcements are happening too early. You know, maybe it is just the side effect of a really hyped game, even sometimes. I do want to note that a couple things have happened since I recorded the audio. CD Projekt Red has come out and said that they have asked their staff, before they made this decision, if they wanted to go into crunch or delay the game again. The report says from them, from other outlets as well, that the staff themselves chose to go ahead and crunch as opposed to push the deadline back again. While I don't doubt that they asked the staff, I get the feeling that it very well could have been lopsided by asking the staff. They could have just asked management as opposed to ask the actual programmers. But again, I'm not so sure. I don't know. You know, this is just the reports that's given to us. So there's that. And they have also said that they are going to be getting paid overtime. Paid overtime is good, especially if you need it, especially if you want it. I do think that it is unfair to push everybody en masse into overtime if they don't want it or they don't necessarily need it. But again, you know, that is a situational issue, be it, you know, per person or per developer or however these contracts are made out or work agreements are made with programmers. Something else that has happened as well is that it has come out now that some of the staff themselves found out about this crunch via Twitter and social media before it was actually officially announced within the company, which is not really a good look. But again, you know, considering it very well could have been staff was already crunching and unaware that it had been made mandatory. It could have been how they announced it, though I don't really necessarily think that that's how it would have gone. I find it hard to believe that the entire company would have, the programming staff that is, would have known about crunch being a thing, via social media and not through official channels. But again, what I think the overarching idea of crunch boils down to is if it can be avoided and how bad is it, and is it really absolutely necessary? The situations surrounding it, we're not quite sure. I mean, it's one thing to have that final push out the door for polish and everything along those lines. I can understand that. I can understand 45, even some cases 50-hour weeks, as opposed to 7 days working 80 hours a week. Of course, whether or not it's mandatory, whether or not people are down for it, that's all situational. But I think as a whole, crunch is an issue, and for those who say that crunch really isn't an issue, we can't ignore the fact that it has, over time, gotten more out of control. As any negative aspect of a job may, over time things get away from people and they tend to rely more on negative business practices out of either desperation or complacency. But again, I mean, it all just kind of depends on the situation, and honestly, myself, I don't think I'll ever think crunch is a good thing, but at the same time, I will submit that it's not necessarily as bad as everyone always thinks it is in some regards. But overall, I don't like crunch. Except this. This is good. Damn. There's salsa downstairs. I didn't even think of that. Why didn't I bring the salsa up here for this fucking bit? I'm mad at myself now.